Hey everyone, Temporal here, and for this
Personality
session we are
synchronization
reviewing
100%.
Oh,
Stick to the
did I
plan.
say diamond? This
Be
might have
ready
been
to
flat.
adapt if necessary.
No, this is a diamond echo. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that helps me out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate it. Or if you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, see what sort of promos, special events we have going on, all that good stuff.
This experience is a key. One. Round one. Capture. Adjusting angle of attack.
Okay? Canceling? No canceling. Okay.
Hey there.
If you cancel that early, you do get your boosters on cooldown a bit earlier, and you can sort of abuse Glide a little bit to really sort of be making up distance. So it's not the end of the world to not hit this, but what you want to do generally is...
This experience is a key. Adjusting angle of attack.
You could have gotten more distance off this by going a little higher and then stopping and still sort of gliding your way forward. That would have been a little better distance-wise, considering you get your cooldown faster, back faster.
Hey there.
Okay, go take your height, and you'd have liked to have your cooldown back faster, because as you can see, you're sitting here waiting for your cooldown instead of being up over here already with control, or up playing over here already with control. It's not your best open.
Ability increased.
Why? Why did we delay and stop shooting at him?
Repairing internal circuitry.
Okay, you really do need to clear that Genji.
Focus my target.
Like, turning around and going after that Doomfist is one thing, but like the Genji was right out there, was at your back. We don't really like that.
Changing position.
Okay.
Locking on.
No, that's not amazing. I know you're thinking you can focusing beam him through deflect, but he had so much health left. It's nice that he stood still. Fine. Cancel. After you've gotten your finish with Focusing Beam, you want to cancel it. You in general have a thing where you want to cancel your abilities early after you've gotten what you needed out of them, sometimes, because that causes them to start their cooldown earlier. Now, you have to wait the full 8 seconds. But you could have gone, hey, you'd still have to wait 8 seconds when you cancel it, but you'd be canceling it, and you'd be canceling it a second early. So you'd be a second ahead on your thing. Your Focusing Beam isn't particularly good damage if it's not on someone that is below 50% health. So after you finish that Doomfist, great, but moving on to the 90% health Genji, not worth it. Just cancel it and go back to doing your little poke shots, your little poke, where she try shots.
Boosting up.
Okay. No melee? Okay. Focusing beam, even better, but like, you're still not, you're clearly not confident with these left clicks. Where are you going? You've got lots of time right now. You have your cooldowns available. What are you doing? You're going to do echo things? You can get up here and poke from here. You can fly and end up here so you can potentially poke them on the way in. You're going to fly and get control of this so that you can poke them on the way in and have high ground control. Like, you have time. Convert that time to positioning.
Taking off.
You did not convert that time to positioning. You didn't even land on this. Yes, you can stand on this. Yes, you can stand on this. You didn't even convert your flight to landing on this and playing from here. Your flight just puts you right back where you started. This is no good. We want to be generally gaining height with our flights. Like, up, and I end here. Or up, and I end here. Or up, I end here, and I use float, and I sort of slide off the roof to slow my fall down a little bit. Because when you're sliding down an angled roof like this, it actually does give you a little bit of friction and slow you down a little bit. So you might be able to go, oh, and I can use my next flight before I've actually touched the ground type thing. We want to maintain a little better height than you are. And you also don't want to be clustered in with your team. Your Echo, you're a character that has flight, you're a character that has good movement, you're a character that can more easily than an Ashe or a Hanzo or a McCree take huge angles and use those. And angles are winning in Overwatch. The team with bigger and more angles tends to be the team that is winning when it comes to an engagement in Overwatch. So if you could be up over here, that would be great. That would be a huge angle compared to your team. As opposed to you right here, well, you're just with your team. There is no angle if you're just standing with your team here. And you're not getting to pressure these guys. Like, this should be a hard advancement for them. They should have to walk all the way through this space, all the way through this, as your team is shooting them from here and from here. Or from here and from here. This is what should be happening. This should be a tough advancement for them, and you're making it basically free for them by not contributing.
Changing position. Focus my target.
Why doesn't this look diamond? Console. That would do it. Console is why. Okay.
Took a second.
Hey Nordstorm, how you doing? Okay, so this is good. You notice how you've created a little bit of an angle? We'd have liked you to create your angle over here, do your work up from here, then you drop and you can still do your work from here, and it's very easy for you to then hop over here if your team gets pushed back. This isn't amazing. Like, it's good that it's an angle, but you're pushed back a little too far and this is in the way. You'd have preferred to be up here to do your work. But if your team gets pushed, this would be a good angle for you to play from.
Boosting up.
You canceled that focusing beam. Good.
Target's down.
Why? Okay.
Target's down.
Why are we using flight?
Taking off.
What are we getting out of this? Where do we plan to land? We just canceled our flight. Why? Like, where were we going with this flight? Were we going up here with this flight? That could have been justifiable. But you're just not doing anything with it.
Locking on.
Cancel it. Yeah.
Got you good as
Lifting off.
Okay. Drift left, drift left, drift left. Great. Except you can be drifting to end up over here, where you still get to poke them at a very different angle from your team. And it's great. It's great, and you're hard to get to. And if they give you trouble, you still have cover between that pillar, between your ability to literally just back up and have the ground between you and them. You can push, you can pressure out Doomfist on his way in. He can't drop in on you from above. Like, it's great. Please have your high ground. No, no, no. Okay, so we used flight. That's a long time for you to pick who you want to go after, and I'm not convinced that that's who you want to go after. I think it's much more likely that instead of that Genji, you want to go after that Ashe over there.
Adaptive circuits
Oh,
engaged.
you want the Genji for the ult. Fine.
Genji.
I really don't know that I'm going to go after Ana with this. If she sleeps you, you've wasted your ult.
Reversing personality model. Burning them down.
Wasn't really weak enough, but got there. You're struggling with those shots. Right idea.
Moving up. On my target.
Sure. Just working in your office at a real adult job? Why would you have one of those, man? Look at what I do. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Hopefully you're getting to the end of your Friday and you're going to have some weekend to enjoy here in Nordstorm.
I finished them off. Update. Target destroyed.
T-Bot for special attack.
Focus level.
Cancel. Good.
Systems on fire.
Okay, so you got better at your cancels, which is good. You're struggling a bit with just the mechanics on your left click, but the more important thing is related to you're just not understanding how to properly get the poke, how to properly maximize your poke, your spam. If your team is here down the main angle, you have to find yourself a different angle. Height can be part of your different angle, but you have to find yourself a different angle. And if height is all or part of your different angle, you need to be able to maintain that height, which means you need something, at least a roof that you can slide down to maintain your height for longer, or preferably something actually up there that you can land on, so when your flight ends, you're still elevated compared to your team. There's a height difference between you up here and your team down here, so that creates more angle. It's not just here to here, it's here to here plus some level of up and down to it. That lets you get more ability to get past barriers, more ability to get headshots, more ability to have them sort of compromise. The cover that works against them doesn't work against you, or vice versa. The strafing that works against you doesn't work against them, or vice versa. So that I can have money to buy a GPU so that I can be better at Overwatch, because more frames equals more better. More frames is more better. It's true. It's true. Up to a point. RTX 3090 is a measure of your game sense positioning, right? I don't know. I haven't been properly endorsed to say that yet. Okay. Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I hear you. Trying to buy back your time, buy back your enjoyment. I understand completely. Besides, who wants to play Overwatch on low settings, which is what I could do to bring my frames back up? Who wants to play Overwatch on low settings? We want to spend more money to play it on higher settings, because, you know, of course, then what we'll actually do is we'll turn it down to lower settings to make the frames go even higher. But what are you going to do? Okay, back to this.
3, 2, 1. Round 2. Capture the objective. Thanks.
Okay.
Taking off.
Pushing through with our Echo. Crosshair placement. Where are you going to end this?
My target.
So you have to accommodate for that, or accommodate for that. You have to accept that that's going to happen. If you haven't already seen this nade come out, you know she's going to nade. So you did this. This Ana's not actually weak enough for you to focusing beam. You just have to accept that unless you know where her nade went, she's going to nade, and you can't focusing beam right when she gets to, she's not even at 50, she's at like 60% healthier, because she's going to nade, and that's going to shoot her way above 50% health. So you've either got to get her lower, get it out first, or you have to have some other target that you're going to swap to, or more people helping you. Something to change this equation. You can't actually press focusing beam on an Ana like this that still has her nade. Or you can, but right now you effectively need to go, okay, fine, I'm done, and now I'm going to go ahead and shoot her again. Which isn't great, because you're not really in a position to fight her anymore. Yeah, this was predictable. And you all in. You used flight, you used focusing beams, you didn't finish your flight in a good spot, you just didn't accommodate, you just didn't compensate, you just didn't adjust for the fact that Anas have nades. Their health isn't what it seems.
Going free.
You doing any VR with your graphics card there, Nardstorm, or is that still on your to get list? Because that can be fun with Vives, for example. I haven't broken mine out in a while, but it is fun. Okay, we're pushing up here.
Executing flight
Fine. Again, though, you're going here and you're doing this, and what's the plan for where this flight is going to end? Like, I'd love to have her high ground. That would be a good place to end this flight, and then just continue to wedge this in here. But no dice, because you're not really thinking about where your flights are going to end. And you can't make it anymore. You can't follow this. If you'd made it to here, you might have been able to follow her, but you didn't. Why are you reloading? Why are you reloading with 4 shots left here? You had plenty of ability to be poking into the back of this Reinhardt as you were rotating out. VR's pretty far down the line, still rocking 8 gigabytes of RAM and a 1060. Fair enough. I think you needed a 1070 or a 1080 in that generation to do VR, so VR was only a little bit down the line, but hey.
Locking on.
And if you're rocking a 1060 with 8 gigs of RAM, and I'm assuming you don't mean video RAM, you mean regular RAM, your biggest performance boost, and I'm guilty of this too, your biggest performance boost per cost is not going to be upgrading your card. It's going to be sticking in more sticks of RAM or getting faster RAM. Those will get you more bang for your buck right now than a card upgrade, I bet. But all good.
No one can hide from my sight.
Flight routine activated.
My ultimate is charging.
Okay, can we get high ground now, please? High ground? No, because you're worried about the Widow. Fine.
Adjusting angle of attack.
Yeah, I saw that. I just haven't gone and changed it. Obviously, my titles get redone when I actually figure out what the review is about at the end of the reviews, or not when I actually figure it out. I don't know what the review is going to be about when I do the review, so that's my placeholder title, and I'm not worried about my placeholder title having an extra capital letter. Or maybe I already know that this review is going to be about this Echo's E usage, and that was my way of calling it out. Okay, it wasn't. Oh, are you going to end this on high ground? It'd be so easy to end this on high ground over here. And then just to be able to, like, wedge this open from over here, and these guys would be so annoyed. And the Widow's gone, so you have no fear about having this high ground. Please, and even if the Widow was alive, this high ground is relatively safe. Please take this high ground. Please take this high ground.
Finishing them off.
Why are you here? Why are you here? You didn't need to retreat back to your team. You need to have the high ground. And if the Winston jumped up on you or something? No, the Winston can't jump up on you. They don't have the Winston. You have the Winston. No, you're just be here. Be here. Oh, you got shattered because you're on the ground. You got pinned off the map because you're on the ground. It's almost like you shouldn't be on the ground here as Echo.
Boosting up.
Okay, so you're on the outside. Fine, that's just spam. Okay. Do you know where the Widow is? It's a little dicey to actually drop in when you don't know where the Widow is. So you're here, and I like this. I like this because you've already figured out that the Widow isn't up over here, so you're relatively safe. She could be over here. She could be back there. She could be up on the pillar, I suppose, but she's probably in one of these two locations, which means you're good here, but you don't really want to go out here. So play behind this line, and there's still plenty of things that you can work on. Plenty of things that you can work on. So just do it. Just do that from here. And slow fall from here. You can slow fall from here and take your shots. Slow fall and spam the Reinhardt. Spam the Ana. Sure. Don't drift out here. Don't drift out here. You don't know where the Widow is. Now we know where the Widow is, but like the Widow could have been here. The Widow could have been here. The Widow could have been back here. Unless the Widow was back here, which you didn't know whether she was or not, this isn't safe, and you didn't have to be here to have good targets. The Ana and the Genji were both available to you if you stayed in the safer spot with a good angle. In fact, it would be an extreme angle on the Genji. It would be a good angle on the Ana. There was no reason for you to be out here where you are right now. Why would you be here? Why would you be here? You like made yourself more accessible to the Widow and the Genji.
I've reached the objective. Let's coordinate our efforts.
back online. Executing flight maneuvers.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
It's ready.
You can't peek
No
until
one can
now. You
hide
can peek
from
because you know
my
where she is.
sight.
Flight routine active.
Why? You know where the widow is. You know where the widow is. You see that she's moving. You see that she's scoped again. You see that she's scoped again. Please tell me why you have any interest in opening this sightline, which is the sightline that you know this widow is holding, as opposed to your Echo. You don't have to open predictable sightlines. You can open the sightline up here. You can open it over here. You can walk up here and open it over here. Like, you know exactly where she's looking because your widow popped sights. Yes, she has sights going too, but you know exactly where she's actually looking. Please don't peek into the place she's already looking, even if you have teammates there. Like, no.
Flight routine activated.
At least you did it when your Winston went.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Reinhardt.
Wouldn't have charged. Sure.
You're powered up. Get in there.
Not sure why we're pinning.
Personality duplication complete. Lock on my target.
The enemies of town will be eliminated.
My ultimate is charging. Group up.
Changing position.
Okay. Please end on the high ground. High ground. High ground. Ah! So, like, when you guys have control, the map is pretty heavily, most of Overwatch is pretty heavily about making it expensive, taxing them, making it cost something to get from here to here. Especially now that they've given up and gone off the Widow and gone the Reaper, you get to tax the bejesus out of these guys over every inch that they're trying to take from their spawn all the way up until the point that they want to fight at. And the way you do that is you push up, you find some aerial cover to play around, and you pressure from here. Well, your team pressures from here, whatever. And even if your team doesn't pressure, that's okay. You've got good aerial cover, and this isn't naturally where they'll be looking. This is a little more naturally where they'd be looking. This isn't quite naturally where they'd be looking. They're naturally going to be looking sort of straight ahead because they want to go to point. So you want to go and you want to tax them every bit on the way in. Get your pressure on them. You don't have duplicate. You might get eliminations. You put pressure on them and make them advance more slowly. Make them spend Rhine Shield. Make them think about using other resources like DM, like speed, like Wraith Form, like Deflect, like Fade to get in, like Nade. Get those things out of them here while you can. Tax them on the way in. And you do that by actually poking at them on their way in and by having good angles to poke at them from on their way in. We don't just use flight and then drop and now we're playing super back. And I get it, you have to back off a little bit, or you feel you have to back off a little bit because you guys are down ball. But this was so much more available to you.
Taking off.
Why are you backing off so hard? Yeah, they have one more person than you. One more person than you isn't actually worth more than the positional advantage. So like Overwatch, there's open debate over what's most important in Overwatch. Is it person advantage, 6v6, or in this case, 5v6? Is it position advantage, which would be high grounds, chokes that they have to push through, or is it ult advantage? You will see different people argue for each of these, but anyone who's any good at the game in the modern era is going to tell you that if we have strong positional advantage with 5, we don't necessarily have to just surrender the space. We can do a forward hold if it's a spot on the map that we can be like, we're going to tax you. We're going to have this. We're going to have this. Maybe we're going to have this. We're going to have this. And we're going to tax you some. We might not actually take the fight, but we'll tax you some. We'll make it expensive for you to advance so that by the time you get to us, you're down on resources. Maybe you're down on resources enough to equate being down a person, or maybe as you start to get close, we'll back off more. And we'll play like this. But we're probably not going to just fully give you the point and then have to push back in ourselves as 6 once our 6th person is there. We're probably not willing to do that just because we're down 1 person, especially if we had the positional advantage. I'm not sure why you thought you could hit that focusing bit. This is a long time for him to have not thrown hook. Like, he's got to be close to having hook back. Did you see him throw a hook earlier and I wasn't paying attention? Oh, okay. He was still a bit away. But he ultimately just takes you down with a right click. Or Genji gets you, excuse me.
Allow me to repair the damage. Mobility increased.
Here comes Team Vega.
Okay. Can we swap off of them now? I don't want to shoot at the shield. I'd much rather shoot at the Reaper. I'd much rather shoot at the Reaper. I could actually win the game by shooting at the Reaper, the Moira, or the Genji. That's fine. No, you have to fight the Genji. I don't know why you think you can go back in here. You have to fight the Genji off of you. You have other people on point. No.
Flight routine activated.
My ultimate's almost ready.
Okay.
Executing flight maneuver. Ready for battle. Ready for battle. Ready for battle.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Round 3. Capture the objective.
Okay, they're still on the Reaper Genji. That makes your job pretty easy. We finished the flight on high ground, guys. Okay. Fine. You do see the Genji there. You do hear the shurikens. You can adjust and fight the Genji. You can adjust and fight the Genji. You also have flight, so you can immediately react to this dash with flight. But you'd probably have gone vertical. I don't know why you'd go over here where you're contained, as opposed to just going vertical, where you can be like, nope, we're going to poke you from above. Not too worried about that over there. Yes, the Ana could tag you, but meh.
Repairing internal circuitry.
Okay. Interesting. Not sure why we opened with stickies there, especially against a Reaper who we don't know the Wraith status of. Like, if the Reaper didn't know we were there, we could have opened with stickies, but the Reaper clearly knew we were there.
Mobility increased.
Brigitte at your service.
Okay, so we're done with Echo. So on to Reaper? Yeah, we've got a few minutes for Reaper. But why are we done with Echo? Are we just done with Echo because our team's complaining? Like, there's nothing on their team that makes playing Echo particularly hard. You're not having the easiest time with that Genji, and that Genji is probably more used to fighting flyers than you as Echo are to fighting Genji, but that's how you get practice. Bye, Brig. Turn and fight the Genji. Okay. Why?
Repositioning.
Okay. Okay, you need to be playing more passive now. Your team hasn't, like, your team has won this, but they haven't full-on 100% cleanup phase won this. Your team isn't here quite enough yet to help you out. Like, if your Hog was here, maybe. If you were a little more confident in your Ana sightline, maybe. But this is a little aggressive for you to be here with no Wraith. Because things like that happen. And a fight that should have been just shy of cleanup stage, basically cleanup stage, you gave them a way back into by staying that aggressive without your Wraith, by rushing things.
Look at the draw.
Yeah, fortunately they still got it.
That which doesn't kill you makes you.
Bad guys.
All the way up. I know what you're trying for, and you do need to hit it, because that teleports 2 in the open otherwise. Okay. Boring, but fine. Here, I'm good. That's a long-range shot. That's another very long-range shot. Okay. I could complain about that Wraith, but I suppose I won't. The Genji wasn't really looking quite at you. Yes, he can turn very fast, but you sort of need to play a bit of a game of chicken, because it's not like you're going to Wraith his entire blade.
This time, I'll finish the job.
Okay, that's your window to cross. I don't know why you're afraid to cross. There's 5 of you and it's a Genji, and the Hog Hook's already gone. Good. You knew she was there. Okay. I'm still not sure this doesn't end up with you slept. Like, even if you don't get hooked, I'm not convinced that this doesn't end up with you being slept.
That which doesn't. My ultimate is almost ready.
Who are you on? You're just gonna Q. Yeah, that was never gonna work. Look at this. Look at this. Why do you think this Q was gonna work? Even if you got eliminations, you weren't gonna win the fight.
Nanoboost administered.
And now we're on Tracer. Okay. You didn't actually have to rush the Tracer swap here. You went down at 84% with point control, which meant you were going to make it back in time for a real fight if your team didn't stagger, which they are. But you coming back faster as Tracer doesn't help. If you feel like your Tracer's better, that's fine, but you could have been on Tracer the whole time instead of Reaper if you feel like your Tracer's better. Yeah. Okay. Let's jump back to an Echo screen, because this review is mostly about Echo. That's almost an Echo screen. Okay. So, to start with your Reaper, just to get it out of the way, after you've used Wraith, you need to play a bit more passive. After you've used Wraith, you play a bit more passive than before you used Wraith. You don't try to be so aggressive when you're playing Reaper that your Wraith is going to get forced like in a second or two. You try to play at a level of aggression with Reaper where your contribution is pretty good and you have Wraith so you can get out. You're maybe playing a little on the aggressive side for what you are as a 250 HP hero. And then if your Wraith does get forced, which you should be able to maintain your level of aggression for, let's just say 6 to 7 seconds, and then you Wraith to get out, and then you play a little more passive. You play a little further back, you play with a little more protected angles, a little less in your effective range, and then you get more aggressive again as your Wraith comes back up. That's generally how you're looking to play Reaper. The other thing for your Reaper specifically is you're going for some Shadow Steps and you clearly just don't have the perfect control over a Shadow Step. You had a couple times where you were struggling to aim it. Not just the Ana teleport, but some of your other teleports, I was seeing you were just struggling to aim. And you can literally just pull up a custom game, load nobody into it, custom game just you, and literally just walk around and practice hitting teleports in different spots to get that. And once you get a little bit comfortable with that, it kind of sticks. It's not that hard. It's much easier to aim than, say, a Mei wall. So those would be the Reaper things. Then we get into your Echo. And your Echo is who you really want to work on, who this review was really about, and who we would like to see you improve on. And when it comes to your Echo, I really want you to understand taking these angles and poking. You were doing a better job of taking angles on Ruins here on the second map, where you'd be in a different spot than your team at some times. On Well, you were just stacked on your team way too often, especially when your team had control. And really on both of these, when I'm referring to this taking angles thing, like the place that you most ran into this issue is when you guys had control, you were way too willing to pull back. You did it here, but you also did it on Well, where it would be like, here, I can just go back to Well. Where you'd have pushed the team back to their spawn, and your team would be here, and you'd be like, I'm just going to wait here. What? No. Don't wait here. Don't even poke here with your team. Poke from up over here. Poke from up over here. And if we move on to the second map, Ruins, if your team has control of this, please poke from up over here. Please poke from up over here. Actually get your poke advantage. Now, if you're worried about a Widow just picking you, totally a reasonable concern, which makes something like this a better place to poke from because you'll have a good idea of where the Widow is. You can still poke them as they walk by. You can even wait here and lurk. And then once they've actually walked by, you can be like, I'm now going to shoot you in the back type thing. Or you can go, I'm going to jump on your Widow. But when your team has control after one fight on King of the Hill like this, you need to push up and set good, strong angles to be poking at them, to be taxing them on the way in. So I want you to understand as Echo, get your angles to tax people on the way in. That's like going to be the single most important thing for you to work on. After one fights, don't do this, I get super passive, I surrender a bunch of space, I play from back here type thing. Like actually set up, get your control, get this. Obviously, if you only have 2 people alive, you're going to have to back off a bit. But that doesn't fully mean you have to immediately back off. You, when you have distance, can still poke them from here. And as they get closer, as your safety decreases, and if there's only 2 of you, you would back off more. That's all that needs to happen there. That's all that needs to happen. It's like, oh, there's only 2 of us. I can still get some poke work done, and then I can back off a little. You're a pretty strong poke hero as Echo. Now, when they still have a Widow on the board, sure, you might not go for this. You might need to wait and cover like I talked about. But especially when they were on that Reaper Genji stuff, yeah, I'll have a ball from up here. And then the second thing I want you to work on for your Echo is really I want you to think about these flights, think about where you're going to end these flights. Because you would like each flight to end you in a progressively higher elevation. Each flight to end at a progressively higher elevation, because then you can flight, then you can slow glide, then you can maintain it, then you can find something to slide off, and use your next flight before you've touched the ground again. And it might be that you just end your flight here, so that when you do your next flight, it's from here, so that you get to play a little higher with a little steeper angle. And then maybe you end your next flight here. Maybe you end your next flight here. Maybe you end your next flight here. But a little bit of elevation when you end your flights, or a little bit of elevation when you start your flights, so that you can end the next one on a higher elevation, even if you play part of it up here and then end up down here, you're going to find that ramps nicely, both because it'll give you better, stronger angles, and it'll let you play moderately strong angles even when your flight is on cooldown, because you'll have ended, if you're ending on moderate high grounds, like these, well, these are moderately strong positions. You have cover available to you, you can crouch, you can back up, You can wedge the opponents from a different angle with your pressure. That is pretty strong stuff, and it works out pretty nicely. So let me jump to a thing where the point isn't yelling at us. Cool. Okay, and that's going to do it. Those are the things I want you to work on. Don't try to implement everything I gave you at once. Try to work through these things one thing at a time with like 5 to 15% of your brain power. Be like, okay, I am working on making sure after one fights, I'm getting my angled poke presence done. And then once you feel like you're consistently doing that, might take 5 games, might take 30 games, might take 100 games, might take 10 games. Then you move on to, okay, I've done this. Now I work on making sure that when practical, I'm ending my flights on high ground, because then look at the stuff that I just naturally do in these high grounds. Look at how my next flight is naturally better when I've done this thing from high ground. That's what I'm going to want you to work on there. And then with the Reaper, you've done this stuff for Echo. Now you move on to Reaper and you go, okay, let me work on my Wraith and how my aggression level changes. Or let me go drill my Shadow Step, because I can just do that in custom games. And one thing at a time. Don't try to implement 4 things at once. You'll overwhelm yourself and you'll just tank your SR, or you'll get frustrated and stop doing it, and you'll stop getting better even though you know the thing you're supposed to be working on, and you'll be like, oh, I'm doing this and it's not helping. So please don't do that. Okay, if you or anyone else has questions, you can throw them up in chat now. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that helps me out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate that. Or if you are looking to ask me questions live and you're not watching this live, but you would like to be, what you can do is in my Discord, there is something called Get Notifications. That's a channel, and if you react in there, you can get the Watcher role, and if you have that Watcher role, anytime I go live and stream like this, you'll get a ping saying I'm going live, which means you can be here if you want to ask me questions. Pretty sweet deal, right? So yeah, that would be the best way to get your questions answered live, is to go become a watcher in the Discord to get those pings, and those really work better than the YouTube notifications. That said, please do like and subscribe on YouTube, and if you want to hit that notification bell, you do you. I'm not going to stop you. Hey, Semitic, is that a waving because you're here like usual, or is that a waving because you want me to not end the video because you do in fact have a question? I will give you like maybe 30 seconds or so of my stalling in case you have a question. I am happy to do questions. Those are fun. Otherwise, we're not going to have too much more to go over here because we've given this a we've covered what we needed to. It's a here wave. Thank you for clarifying, Semitic. Okay, that's going to do it. Once again, if you'd enjoyed the content, please do like and subscribe. You did, Semitic, but you'll catch it next time. And with that, we're going to call it here. Thanks, guys. Temporal out.